Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjalashalakaya Chakshurunnitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamavyam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome back. Today we are going to read the last chapter of the On the Way to Krishna. That is chapter number 5, steering towards the Supreme. So let's begin. Okay. Udar Udarah sarva eva iti jnanatve atmai me matam asistah sahi yukta mam evattanatnam gatam. All these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. But he who is situated in knowledge of me, I consider to be just like my own self. Being engaged in my transcendental service, he is sure to attain me, the highest and the most perfect goal. Gita 7.18. Here, Krishna is saying that all the men who come to him, whether they be distressed, in the need of money, curious, etc., are welcome. But out of them, the person who is in the knowledge is very dear to him. The others are welcome because it is understood that in course of time, if they continue to the path, if you continue on the path to God, they will become as good as a man of knowledge. Generally, however, it is so happen that when one goes to church for profit and the money doesn't come, he concludes that approaching God is nonsense and gives up all the connection with church. That is the danger of the approaching God with ulterior motives. For instance, during World War II, it was reported that many wives of the German soldiers were went to church to pray for their husbands, safe return. But when they found their husbands had been killed in battle, they became atheistic. Thus, we want God to become our thus we want God to become our order supplier. And when He does not supply our order, we say that there is no God. That is the effect of praying for material things. In this connection, there is a story of little boy above 5 year old named Dhruva who belonged to a royal family. In the course of time, his father, the king, tired of his mother and deposed her as his queen. He then took another woman as queen, and she became stepmother to the boy. She was very envious of Dhruva, and one day, as Dhruva was sitting on the father's knee, she insulted him. "Oh, you cannot sit on the lap of your father," she said, "because you are not born of me." She dragged Dhruva from his father's lap, and that boy became very angry. He was the son of Kshatriya, and Kshatriyas are notorious for their quick tempers. Dhruva took this to be a great insult, and he went to his mother who had been deposed. "Dear mother," he said, "my stepmother has insulted me by dragging me from my father's lap." "Dear son," the mother replied, "what can I do? I am helpless, and your father no longer cares for me." "Well, how can I take revenge?" the boy asked. My dear boy, you are helpless. Only if God helps you, you can take the revenge." "Oh, where is God?" Dhruva asked enthusiastically. I understand so many sages go to jungle and forest to see God." The mother replied. They undergo great penances and austerities in order to find God there. At once, Dhruva went to the forest and began asking the tiger and the elephant, "Oh, are you God? Are you God?" In this way, he was questioning all the animals. Seeing that Dhruva was very much inquisitive, Sri Krishna sent Narada Muni to see about the situation. Narada quickly went to the forest and found Dhruva. "My dear boy," Narada said, "you belong to the royal family. You cannot suffer all this penance and austerity. Please return to your home. Your mother and father are very much anxious for you. Please do not try to divert me in that way," the boy said. "If you know something about God, or if you know how can I see God, please tell me. Otherwise go away and don't disturb me." When Narada saw that Dhruva was so determined, he initiated him as a disciple and gave him the mantra. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Dhruva chanted this mantra and became perfect, and God came before him. "My dear Dhruva, what do you want? You can take from me whatever you want." "My dear Lord," the boy replied, "I was undergoing such severe penances simply for my father's kingdom and land. But now I have seen you. Even the great sages and saints cannot see you. What is my profit? I left my home to find merely some scraps of glass and rubbish, and instead I have found a valuable diamond. Now I am satisfied. I have no need to ask anything of you." Uh, Thus, even though one may be poverty stricken or in distress, if he goes to God with some determination as Dhruva, intent of seeing God and talking and taking his benediction, and if he happens to see God, he will no longer want anything material. He comes to understand the foolishness of material possessions, and he puts the illusion aside for the real thing. When one becomes situated in Krishna consciousness like Dhruva Maharaj, he becomes fully satisfied and doesn't want anything. The Gnani, the wise man, knows that material things are flickering. He also knows that there are three aspects that complicate all material gain. One wants profit from his work, one wants adoration from others because of his riches, and one wants fame because of his wealth. In any case, he knows that all of these apply but to this body, and then when the body is finished, they also go. When the body dies, one is no longer a rich man but a spirit soul. And according to his work, he has to enter another body. The Gita says that a wise man is not bewildered by this, for he knows what is what. Why? Why then should he bother himself in attaining material wealth? His attitude is, "I have an eternal connection with Krishna, the Supreme Lord. Now let me establish that relationship firmly so that Krishna will take me back to his kingdom." The cosmic situation is giving us all facility to re-establish this relationship with Krishna and return to Godhead. This should be our mission in life. Everything we need is being supplied by God: land, grain, fruits, milk, shelter, and clothing. We only have to live peacefully and cultivate Krishna consciousness. That should be our mission in life. We should therefore be satisfied with what God has supplied in the form of food, shelter, defense, and sex, and should not want more and more and more. The best type of civilization is one that ascribes of the maxim of plain living and high thinking. It is not possible to manufacture food or sex in a factory. These these and whatever else we require are supplied by God. Our business is to take advantage of these things and become God conscious. Although God has given us all facilities to live peacefully on the earth, cultivate Krishna consciousness, and finally to come to Him, in this age we are unfortunate. We are short lived, and there are so many people without food, shelter, married life, or defense from the onslaughts of the nature. This is due to the influence of this age of Kali. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, seeing the dreadful situation in this age, emphasized the absolute necessity for cultivating spiritual life. And how should we do it? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this formula. Harer Nam, Harer Nama eva kevalam, kalau naste eva gati anyatha. Just always chant Hare Krishna. Never mind whether you are in the factory or in the hell, in a shack or in the skyscraper. It doesn't matter. Just go on chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. There is no expense, there is no impediment, there is no caste, there is no creed, there is no color. Anyone can do it. Just chant and hear. Somehow or other, if one comes into contact with Krishna consciousness and execute the process under the guidance of a bona fide guide, he is sure to go back of God. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavam mam pravadyate vasudeva sarvam iti samamata su durlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all the causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. Gita 7.19. Philosophical research into the science of God has to be prosecuted for many births. God realization is very easy, but at the same time, it is very difficult. It is easy for those who accept Krishna's word as truth, but those who try to understand through research work by dint of advancement of knowledge have to create their faith after finishing so much of research work. And this process take many births. There are different types of transcendentalists called Tattvai, Tattvai, Tattvavid, who know the absolute truth. The transcendentalists call the absolute truth that in which there is no duality. In the absolute truth, there is no duality. Everything is on the same level. One who knows this truth is called as Tat, Tattvid, Tattvavid. Krishna proclaims that the absolute truth is known in three aspects: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. The impersonal Brahman effulgence, the localized super soul, and the supreme personality of Godhead. Thus, there are three angles from which one may envision the absolute truth. One may view a mountain from a great distance and thus perceive it from one angle of vision. As he comes closer, he may see the trees and foliage of the mountain, and if he began to climb the mountain, he will find so much va- variegate, variegatedness in the trees, plants, and animals. The objective is the same, but due to different angles of vision, sage have different conception of the absolute truth. Another example there is the sunshine, the sun disk, and the sun god. One who is the sunshine cannot claim that he is on the sun itself, and one is who is situated in the sun from the point of view of vision better situated. The sunshine may be compared to the all pervasive Brahmajyoti effulgence. The localized sun disk may be compared to the localized aspect of the super soul, and the sun god who resides in the sun may be compared to the personality of the godhead. As on this earth, the planet, we have a multi variety of living entities. We can understand from Vedic literature that in the sun also there is a variety of living entities, but their bodies are made of fire, just as ours are made of earth. In material nature, there are five gross elements: earth, water, air, fire, and space. In different planets, there are different atmospheres. Due to one of these five elements prevailing, and there are different bodies for the living entities composed of whatever element may be predominant in particular planet. We should not think that all the planets have the same quality of life. Yet there is a uniformity in the sense that these five elements are always present in some form or other. Thus, on some other planets, Earth is prominent, fire is prominent, water is prominent, and air and space are prominent. We should not think, therefore, that just because a planet is not compared primarily of Earth, or because the atmosphere does not duplicate us, that there is no life on these planets. Vedic literature gives us information that there are countless planets filled with the living entities with different types of bodies. As by making some material adjustment, we may qualify to enter different material planets. By qualification, we can enter into the spiritual planet where the Supreme Lord resides. Yanti Deva Vrata Devan Pitrinyatni Pitrvata Bhutani Yanti Bhutya Bhutyajya Yanti Madhyagnopi Mam. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods. Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors. And those who worship me will live with me. Gita 9.25. Those who are trying to enter higher planets can go there. And those who are trying to qualify to enter into the Goloka Vrindavana, the planet of Krishna, can also enter there by process of Krishna consciousness. Before going to India, we may acquire a description of what the country is like, hearing about the place in the first experience. Similarly, if we want to get information about the planet where God lives, we have to hear. We cannot immediately make an experiment and go there. That is not possible. But we have so many descriptions of the supreme planet in all Vedic literature. For instance, the Brahma Samhita 5.29 states, चिंतामणि प्रकार सद्मसौ कल्पवृक्ष लक्ष लक्ष लक्षवृष्टे सुरभिर आदि पर्यंतम लक्ष्मी सहस्र शत संभ्रम सेवमनम गोविंदमादि पुरुषम तमहम भजामि. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor, who is tending the cows, fulfilling all desires, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of wish-fulfilling trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. There are also other detailed description given, especially in the Brahma Samhita. Those who are trying to realize the absolute truth are categorized according to the aspect of the absolute truth on which they concentrate. Those who concentrate on Brahman, the impersonalities, are called Brahmavadis. Brahmavadis. Generally, those who are trying to realize the absolute truth first of all realize the Brahma Jyoti. Those who concentrate on the super soul, the localized form of the Lord in the heart, called Paramatma, are known as Paramatmavadis. The Supreme Lord, by his plenary portion, is sitting in everyone's heart, and by meditation and concentration, one can perceive this form. Not only he is within everyone's heart, but he is situated within every atom of the creation. The Paramatma realization is the second stage. This third and the last stage is the realization of Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because there are three main stages of realization, the supreme absolute truth is not attained in one birth. Brahm, Bahunam Janmanam Ante. If one is fortunate, he can achieve the ultimate in 1 second. But generally, it may take many years, many births to realize what God is. अहम सर्वस्य प्रभवो मत्त सर्वानं प्रवर्तते इति मत्वा इति इति मत्वा भजन्ते मां बुद्धभावे भूतभावे समन्विता. I am the source of all the spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly knows this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Gita 10.8. The Vedanta Sutra also confirms that the absolute truth is He, who is He, from whom everything is born. If we truly believe that Krishna is the origin of everything, and if we worship Him, our whole account is closed in 1 second. But if he does not believe and say, "Oh, I want to see what God is," he has to go by stages by realizing the impersonal Brahman effulgence and then Paramatma, the localized feature, before finally coming to the last stage of realization. Oh, here is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It should be understood, however, that this process may take more time. When one through many years of research comes to realize the absolute truth, he concludes Vasudeva Sarvam Iti. Vasudeva is all that is. Vasudeva is named for Krishna, and it means he who lives everywhere. Realizing the Vasudeva is the root of everything, Mam Prapadyante, he surrenders. The surrendering process is the ultimate goal. Either one does it immediately or after many births of research work. In either case, surrender must be there by realizing that God is great and I is subordinate. Understanding this, the wise man will surrender immediately and will not wait to take many births. He understands that this information is given by the Supreme Lord out of His infinite mercy on the conditioned souls. So we are all conditioned souls, suffering the threefold miseries of the material world. Now the Supreme Lord is giving us the opportunity to escape these miseries by the surrendering process. At this point, one may ask that if Supreme Personality Lord is the ultimate goal and one has to surrender to Him, why why are there so many different processes of worship in the world? The question is answered in the next works. कामैस्तस्तरे ऋत्वजन्ज्ञाना प्रपद्यन्ते न्यदेवता तं तं नियमम् अष्टया प्रकृत्ये नित्यस्वया. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Gita 7.20. There are many different types of men in the world, and they are functioning under the different modes of material nature. Generally speaking, most men are not after liberation. If they take if they take to spirituality, they wish to gain something by spiritual power. It is not uncommon in India for a person to go to a Swami and say, Swamiji, could you give me some medicine? I am suffering from this disease. He thinks that because a doctor is too expensive, he can go to a Swami who can work miracles. In India, also, there are Swamis who go to people's house and preach. If you give me 1 ounce of gold, I can make it into 100 ounces gold. The people think, I have 5 ounces of gold. Let me give him, and I'll get 500 ounces. In this way, Swami collects all the gold in the village, and after collecting it, he vanishes. This is our disease. When we go to a Swami or temple or church, our hearts are filled with material desires, wanting some material profit out of spiritual life. We practice yoga just to keep our health fit. But in order to keep healthy, why take the shelter of yoga? We can become healthy through regular exercise and regulated diet. Why resort to yoga? Because calm is the Rita. We have the material desire to keep ourselves fit and to enjoy life by going to church and making God our order supplier. Having material desires, men worship various demigods. They have no idea how to get out of matter. They want to utilize the material world to its best capacity. For instance, in Vedic literature, there are so many recommendations. If one wants to cure his disease, he worship the sun. If a girl wants a good husband, she worships Lord Shiva. Or if one wants a some wants to become beautiful, he worships such and such god. Or if one wants to become educated, he worships goddess Saraswati. In this way, Westerner often think that the Hindu or polytheistic, but actually this worship is not to God, but to demigods. We should not think that the demigods are God. God is one, but there are demigods who are also living entities just like us. The difference is that they have a considerable amount of power. On this earth, there may be a king or a president or a dictator. These are all men like us, but they have some extraordinary power. And in order to get favors from them, to take advantage of their power, we worship them in one way or another. But the Bhagavad-gītā condemns worship of demigods. This verse clearly states that the people worship in demigods due to kama, material lust. This material life is simply based on lust. We want to enjoy this world and we love this material world because we want to gratify our senses. This lust is perverted reflection of our love of God. In the original constitution, we are made to love God, but because we have forgotten God, we love matter. Love is there. Either we love matter or we love God. But in no case we can get out of this loving propensity. Indeed, we often see that when one doesn't have children, he loves a cat or a dog. Why? Because we want to need and to lose something. In the absence of reality, we put our faith and love in the cats and dogs. Love is always there, but it is distorted into the form of lust. When the lust is baffled, we become angry. When we become angry, we become illusion. And when we are illusion, we are doomed. This is the process that is going on. But we have to reverse this process and turn lust into love. If we love God, we love everything. But if we do not love God, it is not possible to love anything. We may think that this is love, that it is love, but it is simply a glamorized form of lust. Those who have become the dogs of lust are said to have lost all good senses. Kamestastar ritagnyana. There are many rules and regulations for the worship of demigods in the scriptures, and one may question why the Vedic literatures recommend their worship. There is necessity. Those who are motivated by lust want the opportunity to love something, and the demigods are acknowledged as the officers of the Supreme Lord. The idea is that as one worships these demigods, he will gradually develop Krishna consciousness. But if one is completely atheistic and disobedient and rebellious against any authority, what hope is there? So one's obedience to a higher personality can start with the demigods. If, however, we take directly to the worship of the Supreme Lord, of the demigods is not necessity. Those who worship the Supreme Lord directly show all the respects to all the demigods, but they do not need to worship them because they know that the supreme authority behind the demigods is the supreme personality of Godhead, and they are engaged in worshipping Him. In any case, respect is still there. A devotee of the Lord shower respect even to an ant. What to speak of the demigods? The devotee is aware that all living entities are parts and parcels of Supreme Lord and that they are playing different roles only. In relation to the Supreme Lord, all beings are to be respected. Therefore, a devotee refers to others as Prabhu, meaning my dear sir, my dear Lord. Submissiveness is a qualification for a devotee of the Lord. Devotees are kind and obedient, and they have all good qualification. In conclusion, if one becomes a devotee of the Lord, all good qualification will automatically develop. By nature, the living entity is perfect, but due to contamination of lust, he become vicious. That which is part and parcel of gold is also gold, and whatever is part and parcel of the complete perfect is also perfect. Om Purnam Adaha Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udyachyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vasishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because He is complete perfect, all the emanations from Him, such as the phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as a complete whole. Whatever is the product of the complete whole is also a complete in itself. Because He is the complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from Him, He remains the complete balance. Sri Ishopanishad Invocation. Due to the contamination of matter, the perfect living entity falls down. But this process of Krishna consciousness will again make him perfect. Through it, he can become truly happy and after leaving the material body, enter into the kingdom where the eternal life, bliss, and full knowledge. Where there is eternal life, bliss, and knowledge. So this was our last chapter, fifth chapter, steering towards the Supreme. So by this, we have ended our five chapters of On the Way to Krishna. So let's stop over here. Thank you for joining. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyo vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo. Hare Krishna.